8 points. And then for Milwaukee, Gary Trent Jr. with 36 points, and 9 of those were threes. Zach, what did you see in this win for the Clips?
I saw Gary Trent Jr. go off. They needed one more of those guys for this game, but the Clippers were just, they did everything they needed to do. They forced turnovers. They didn't give up second chance points. They won the paint. They shot well from three. They got a great effort from Benedict Mathurin off the bench. This was, maybe a little closer at the end because of what Gary Trent Jr. was doing on the court, just hitting three after three after three to make it a little closer than the final score would kind of indicate. But still, they took care of business. They got out of there with a win, and they move up the standings even more.
Now, Dom, I know that the Bucks do not have a lot of their players, but, it's very exciting to see Gary Trent Jr. out there doing his things. What, if there are some positive for the Bucks from this game, what would you say?
It was that I think they did a lot of what we talked about in the pregame because we knew who they were missing and we kind of figured they were going to have to lean on zone a lot. We figured they were going to have to lean very heavily on the threes, which they did. Over half of their field goal attempts in general came from the three-point line. So I think it kind of tells a story. There just wasn't really many other ways to create without ball handlers. When Garland was on the floor, they tried in the first half to go at him a little bit so they could open things up. I think the Clippers did a better job in the second half, kind of keeping him out of those matchups. But also, as you just saw in that highlight, their feet were touching the paint way more. And so they already had a double-digit lead headed into the half. Once their feet started touching the paint, once Mathurin starts getting to the free throw line, it was kind of over from there. But for Milwaukee, it wasn't a game where they just laid down. It was just kind of reality. And, we left the half saying Gary Trent may end with 36. He ended with exactly 36. And I believe a career-high 9 3-pointers. So this is what they had to work with, and, it's reality.
And Zach, now the Clippers are on a 5-game win streak. They're number 8 in the West, 2.5 games back currently from Phoenix in the number 7 spot. So when we're looking at this play-in tournament, seeing what the Clippers did this game, where do you see them finishing? Either they can remain the same, in your mind at number 8, or they could fall as well. Where do you see them ending up?
I mean, the Suns have been worse as of late. They did get an easy win against the Jazz last night, but they're, I think, 2-6 in their last 8 games. So it is a good opportunity for the Clippers to climb up more, but they still have, a decent chunk of games to make up here in the loss column, in the win column against the Suns. So I would guess they stay at 8th. I don't think they have to worry about Portland or Golden State leapfrogging them, although Golden State's on a little bit of a win streak here. But I think the Clippers will be solid at 8th. They'll try to go into Phoenix for the play-in tournament and send Phoenix into a do-or-die game against whoever wins that 9-10 matchup.
As we're looking at the box score, all starters had double digits, which is pretty cool. Darius Garland, now he had 30 points on Friday against the Pacers. Six of those were 3-pointers. He's averaging 22 points in March. He had 15 points and 11 assists in this game. What have you seen from Darius Garland on the Clippers, Don?
Yeah, Darius has just been great. Kind of like we were talking about pregame, halftime, just how he's fit this team. It's kind of what they needed when they traded James Harden. I think a lot of us kind of thought Garland would be in and out with that toe injury. That's the worst kind of injury to have for a smaller point guard who's, needs to be shifty and needs to be quick. But he's just shooting the ball so well. And that helps because specifically the Clippers get to start these lineups that you've seen as they kind of settle in. You use Derrick Jones at the 2. You can have John Collins out there. You don't necessarily have to have your best shooters out there all the time when Darius is shooting close to 50% on high volume right now. So that opens other things up as well. You saw the Bucks actually started to try to trap him, and at least 11 assists. So he's just been really, really good for them. And I think it worked out better than a lot of people thought when they had to trade Harden out of absolutely nowhere.
It's time for us to take a quick break. We're going to get started, and we're just getting started on our Clips Bucks breakdown, but stay tuned for more after this. Welcome back. Now, with this win, the Clippers are on a 5-game win streak, and Kawhi Leonard had 20 points and 8 rebounds in this win for the Clips, but he's averaging roughly 28 points and 6 rebounds per game while setting a franchise record with 49 consecutive 20-point games. Zach, what does Kawhi Leonard mean to this Clippers team, and how influential will he be down the stretch in the SoFi play-in tournament?
I mean, we've heard LeBron James talk about this relatively recently of like when he's healthy, Kawhi Leonard's one of the best players we've ever seen, right? And we just see that time and time again. He impacts the game in so many ways, and you really can't stop him. You can throw double teams at him, you can throw different coverages, but he's so methodical and so clinical in the way he gets to his spots. His footwork is perfect. Like, he's so strong with the ball, so you can't really, swipe down and get it away from him. He's going to get to his shot, and then you're basically just waiting, just praying that he's going to miss it. And so, since this turnaround, they started out 6-21. Since the turnaround, he's been so good for them. And I think most years with the way he's played, he would be an MVP candidate, but you can't be with, being an 8 seed, maybe in the play-in tournament team. And with the way they started, you can't give him that consideration, but he's that good and he's been that good. And so if he stays healthy, if he's able to play this way, it causes a lot of problems for the best defender on the other team, whether that's going to be Dylan Brooks or it's going to be Devin Booker at times in the play-in tournament game. If they make it into the first round as the 7 seed or 8 seed, that's putting a lot of pressure on either the Thunder or the Spurs defenders. So Kawhi just creates so many problems for opponents, and there's not a whole lot you can do other than try to shut down everybody else.
And this Clippers team is different than the Clippers team that we saw on opening night last year. Dom, how would you grade the moves that this Los Angeles Clippers team made during the year?
Yeah, I would say it's just worked out really, really well for them, because you sit back and wonder how many lineups have they played with since then, right? They came into this year and you're looking at all these old guys. I think they were the oldest team in NBA history. And we still looked at them as contenders. We said that a lot of people said that they had the best offseason of any team. So immediately guys start getting injured. Then you have the trade that happens. I think it kind of worked out in their favor, though, because you look at it now, Jordan Miller gets some burn. Kobe Sanders gets burned sometimes. You had to make that trade for Darius Garland, who probably fits a little bit better, because as a franchise, yeah, you probably weren't going to extend Harden. You're kind of running up to that timeline where you need to think about the youth. So this season worked out to where they could exercise some of that youth, still have versatile lineups, and still continue to win, and still not contend, but still contend for a playoff spot. Where even after the trade, I'll admit, I was one like, okay, Harden and Zubac play such a big part of this. Can they keep this going? They've just kept it going. And like Zach said, because of Kawhi at, I believe, 34 years old, playing some of the best basketball of his career after all these injuries. Doesn't make any sense, but it's worked out.
Let's hear from our winning head coach of tonight, Ty Lue.
We talked before the game about getting John Collins going. It was like nice to see him get some jump shots. What is the perfect, with Darius, with Kawhi and everybody, what is the perfect role for John? Is it the same role that we saw maybe December, January, February?
It's going to be different night to night. We do know that we're going to play through Kawhi and Darius every night, and so he could be the beneficiary of open threes, catch and shoot threes like DJ and KD and all the rest of the guys. But we can't also come out of timeouts and post him or, on dead balls, get him involved a little bit more. But the way our team's constructed, like every night could be somebody different, and so I'm just glad that, like I said, he had a chance to play, make some big baskets for us down the stretch, made some shots, got back in the offensive flow, offensive rhythm, because he hasn't really had that since he's been out and tried to come back. And so just good to see him, finally get into an offensive rhythm.
I know sometimes just say roll the ball out there and play, but the NBA players, especially on good teams, are studied players. How hard is it when they don't necessarily recognize, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful to Milwaukee, but like when they don't necessarily know what a tendency is of a player, how hard is it to play in a situation like that, and even how to coach? Do you just retract and just coach your team and forget about what you're trying to do? Coaching as a player, how difficult is that challenge?
Well, it's just, you got to play hard. That's the biggest thing for us, just playing hard, competing on the defensive end. And like I said, Doc had those guys moving around, running, and you can't scout that, and so, as much as you want to pay attention to detail, as much as you want to, guard certain guys a certain way, when guys are moving that fast and moving that quick, you don't know who you're guarding. So you don't know if you're supposed to close out to a shooter or, you're going to get back cut or what it may be. And so they just, like I said, they played a different style of basketball, and it was hard for us to keep up. But our guys did a good job. We was able to build a lead and then, not play Brook, not play DJ, not play Kawhi and Darius in the fourth quarter because those guys have been playing heavy minutes. And, this month has been crazy for us, so it was good to get some rest.
Month has been all season. You're 3 games over 500. I mean, if you really had to look back at December 20th to where you are now, what are the top things that stand out, that are the biggest differences for you in this turnaround for the season?
I think the biggest thing is a healthy Kawhi. That's one. And then just the guys we got in the locker room. That's what I'm most pleased about because they could have easily gave up. They could have easily gave in. And, every single guy in the locker room, including Kobe Brown, Zoo, James, they played a big part in it as well, And so just those guys being able to, start 6-21, but come in every single day to get better in practice, to get better in the games, to sacrifice no matter what it took to win games. That was huge for us. It just says a lot about the guys in that locker room.
Hi, Coach.
Hello.
Earlier in the season, the Clippers went through a tough stretch, and right now you guys have obviously adjusted to the right track. How did you help the team to get confidence and get back to playing the Clippers-style basketball?
Yeah, I think the big